All right, everybody. Let me get the camera in the cradle. We'll get this started. This will be take two because I was already doing this. And had Mr. Muggles, my golden retriever pup, who decided, hey, let's wake up and take a leak on the floor. So, yeah, the joys of puppyhood. Had to go clean that up. Anyway, these things are multiplying like goddamn mogwais. Those are gremlins. But before the gremlins are what comes after you feed them after midnight. If you get them wet, they multiply. If you get them, well, I guess in that respect, it could be a gremlin or a mogwai because both of them multiply when you get water. It's just it's a mogwai before midnight. You feed them after midnight. That's when they turn into gremlins. My bad. So I've been going through a bunch of different, just looking for the ultimate pocket tool, where I just need a blade. I'm not worried about a big tactical folding, fighting, heavy use kind of knife. But having all these other tools have been cool as shit. And first I was like, ooh, piece of candy. And I went and grabbed the Deluxe Tinker, which for the size is probably the best if you want to keep it small, right? You got your bottle opener, can opener, you got an awl, you got a hook thing, you got Phillips screwdriver tweezers and toothpick, can opener, screwdriver. I mentioned pliers. You got scissors on there. Like you got a lot in that. And then I was like, well, I want a little more. So I've got this big boy, which is awesome. And it's got two different Phillips screwdrivers and the pliers and a big locking blade. And this is awesome. And I think if you're not worried about size in your pocket and you don't mind it, or you're sticking it in a backpack or something like that, go with the Hercules. And then I saw this one, the Evo, which had the locking blade. It had the inline screwdriver. It had the, as far as the Phillips being inline, it had a small wrench. It's got an awl. It's got a little bit more than the Tinker. And I'm like, that's the one. That's the guy. And then I'm like, you know what? I needed a file for something. And this has a nail file, but it's not really, I was like, so you know what? The knife I thought I would never get because I thought it was really more of a gimmick. And I'm glad I went over to the folks at Old Town Cutlery yesterday to pick up the Swiss Champ. I think this is the best damn, EDC pocket knife tool, multi-tool you can buy. When you look at it, because we're used to looking at knives in this profile. Like that's a normal size knife, that's a normal size knife. That's tall, but when you look at it this way, you're like, okay, that looks like someone just thought, oh, as a gimmick, we'll just throw every dumb thing in there we can and see, what that, to me, it just seemed like a gimmick. That's all I can say. Sorry. I already had one video interrupted. Now my wife's blowing up my phone. It's just like every time I start to record a video, I'll sit here for 5 hours with nothing going on. And then the second I start recording, everybody needs to talk to me right now. So anyway, where was I? So I was looking for a couple extra tools that the Deluxe Tinker doesn't have. And that even this one doesn't have, but like this one does. This one has a saw. So this, but it's also that big chunky one. So I'm like, okay, what can I get that is small, that fits in your pocket? And while it does look goofy to see a knife that wide will only be that tall, this thick this way, it is a very unusual aspect ratio, if you will. It's still small. I mean, it fits right in the palm of your hand. And so what tools does the Swiss Champ have, and why did it appeal to me? Well, it was everything I liked about the Deluxe Tinker, except instead of having it on the T-handle on the back, we got the inline Phillips screwdriver. You got your small screwdriver, you got your can opener, you've got your bottle opener, you got your pliers, which I do prefer these pliers over this. I like the fact that these ones are adjustable, but they seem like they bend easier. The teeth aren't, you see how it's like cut nice there, but then on that side, they're not quite as sharp. I feel like these are better jaws. They're a little grippier, and they're also a little thicker. So while it doesn't open as wide, this arm here is a little bit longer, so I get more leverage. It's wider, so if you did have to put a bunch of pressure, that force is spread over a slightly wider area than this. This will push more into your fingers. And when you do push it from here to get the leverage, now you're kind of down into the handle here. Whereas with this, it's a little bit of ways. This I just think is a better pair of pliers. So it does have that. It, of course, has the standard, scissors, and they're good. But here's where we get into some interesting things. Now, this one I don't really care about. I could do without this, but it's there. It's a measuring stick in centimeters because, metric, Swiss. But it's a fish scaler. I don't know that I'll ever use the fish scaler. It's not really sharp enough to use for anything. I mean, it doesn't cut your finger or anything. It's just a tool that's there. I could take that or leave that. What I do like about it is that it does add a wood saw, and it adds a metal saw and a file. So here, if I needed to cut out through a pair of handcuffs, maybe I forgot the safe word and, she wouldn't unlock the handcuffs or something, I could use that. No, but, using it as a survival tool, I think that this is a very cool thing to have a hacksaw in your pocket along with a wood saw. Having a file, so if there's a piece of metal or something on the bike and I had to file something out of the way or fix or do a repair, it's nice to have that. Then you got your big blade, right? Well, big for this style. And then you got the little blade. So I've got that as well. Doing nice little fine cuts, nice little utility blade for opening packages, things of that nature. On the back, you got your corkscrew, which I won't use too much other than holding tools. In this case, it's a tiny little screwdriver. I'm going to take that out because what I have on order is the Victorinox has actual flammable tinder that goes in there. And then you've got a ferrous rod. This would be a ferrous rod that I could then use as a striker to start an emergency fire. And of course, because I'm starting the video, now the other dog has to start. I can't get through anything. Got 6 dogs and it's too much. Anyway, we've got a file, or no, that's kind of like a, I guess it's like a chisel. Now, the only problem with that is that you can only use it at certain angles. I mean, a chisel would make more sense to have on the end near the edge. Here, it's going to really change the whatchamacallit. I don't know how useful that'll be, but it's kind of cool to have. You, of course, have something else. I don't know what the hell this one is. Ones and all. I guess that's just a little screwdriver. So I got a little common screwdriver. Got a hook, and then the awl is down here. You've got your tweezers and your toothpick, and on this side, I'm sorry, there's the toothpick. There's a ballpoint pen. I don't know if you had to write a message to somebody. I'm amazed at all the tools you can get in here. A lot of these are like normal everyday tools. You won't use, and a magnifying glass. I could use that to burn ants in the sunshine, I guess. Or maybe even start a fire if it was sunny out. That's another thing. You could maybe get some tinder going and you could start a fire if it was sunny out. Or you had to identify something, or you got a splinter in there, or whatever it is. Bee sting, you're trying to find where the goddamn little stinger is so you could use the tweezers to pull it out. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's kind of neat and reassuring to know that as you go around through your life that day, if you had to tighten a outlet on the wall, you got Phillips screwdrivers, or you had to tighten something on the bike, you got bottle openers, can openers, screwdrivers, you got a freaking pair of pliers, you got a metal saw as well as a metal file. I mean, to walk around with a little hacksaw in your pocket. Pretty goddamn cool. That's a lot of neat stuff. I looked at this knife for a long time. I'm like, that can't be real. Like, that just looks like something you have just to say you have it. But then I went over there and it was $105. So before spending that kind of money on a knife, I want to go play with it. And I did. I was over there talking to Lee at Old Town Cutlery. And it was really cool. It was nice. So I ended up picking one up. And I think this is going to be my go-to for everything. I really love the Hercules, but it's just too big and heavy to carry normally as an EDC. But it's got more useful tools than either of these. I will carry these at times. I do kind of like the locking blade, although I'm not crazy about the way that it locks. But that is a really cool, nice little setup. That just fits comfortably in the palm of my hand. I can hold that thing and throw it in my pocket. It does have a bit of weight to it. There's a lot of metal in there. It's not a lightweight. I mean, it's almost double the size of the Deluxe Tinker. But to be able to have all that and the ability to start a fire and cut your way through a lock or, rope or, it's just a lot of cool stuff. I'm really impressed with it. I'm really impressed with this. I'm going to see about getting some different scales. They make some alternate scales in different colors and materials, things like that. Some of them maybe will give you the ability to have extra tools or something. I don't know. I'm going to go and look. My goal is to see how big and extensive of an actual legit useful toolkit can I just walk around with at any given point in the day. You know, if I'm worried about a big tactical blade for self-defense, I can carry a Spyderco Paramilitary 2 or something bigger, a Mannix 2 or something. But honestly, to just have something here in your pocket that it's just no matter what you need, I'm like, I don't have to go out to the garage. I don't have to get the toolbox. I mean, I'm not going to remove a lug nut with this, obviously. There are times where I'm going to need bigger tools. But normal just household chores, or you could be sitting in the office and the damn arm of the chair is loose. And you're like, all right, let me just tighten that up. Or maybe it's a regular screwdriver, flathead. Let me just tighten that up. Just little things like that to be able to just go, I'm ready to tackle whatever's thrown at me. And if I was in maybe not a survival situation, but an outdoor situation, or something was going on, there was some sort of emergency, to say, well, I have a set of tools with me. I don't know, there's some sort of little bit of reassurance there. That's kind of cool. So anyway, I'm going to go outside and see why the dog has stopped barking. When he makes that much noise and he stops, I'm like, okay, great, now what's wrong? So I need to go down and see what's going on with baby boy, Mr. Muggles. But he's been quiet all day. He normally is not a barker until I start a video, and then immediately starts being a dick. So can't wait to get past the puppy phase. Puppies are the most gorgeous things on the planet. They're also like kids. They're also the most annoying things. Trying to get them house trained, and get him to go with the program. Not the fun part. Once he's trained and awesome, that's going to be good. Oh, another thing I did was, you'll note these things right here. These things suck. I don't know why Victorinox puts them on there. When you go to grip this thing, see that hole in my hand? Like, it's not comfortable. It won't cut you, but you're like, ow. All right, let me shift my grip. You're like, that's uncomfortable. And if you were sitting there whittling, doing something repetitively, it would start to get sore and annoying really fast. So I just pop the scales off, take a real thin knife, and just slide it in carefully and go, and you hear it click, and just pop, do one there and then one there, and it pops off. Do it carefully so you don't crack them. You can replace them if you do, but try not to. And then I just went out to the belt sander and just ground that off. The problem is, like, you always feel a little bit of the nub in there, because you don't want to get too close, because then you're going to grind it into the liners. So you got to be kind of careful. And I just took a Dremel and just polished it. So now you can barely feel them. There's not sharp enough. They're not going to catch on anything. They're nice and, fairly well polished and smooth. But I find that makes a much more comfortable grip. So that is the Swiss Champ. This is a knife I swore I would never buy. I'm like, I like Swiss Army knives, but I'm like, that's just stupid. That'll never work. And then you pick it up and you're like, well, actually it kind of does. It's almost like they know what they're doing. So anyway, all right, he's still barking, so I guess he's still alive. Anyway, that is the Swiss Champ. This is going to be my EDC going forward. Probably not going to be doing much knife reviews for a while, because I just don't know what else I would... Oh, Victorinox, my Swiss Army knife says, your Amazon Swiss Army knife has shipped. Cool. So it's not the Swiss Army knife, it's the Tinder and the Fire Striker that's going to go and replace this, to me, useless screwdriver. I don't wear glasses, and there's nothing else that size screwdriver is really going to be good for. Maybe working on a watch. Well, I'm not working on that. I'm not changing batteries on a smartwatch. So that's coming out. I'll just throw that in a drawer. And then we're going to have a fire starter. I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, take two. I managed to get through the video, managed to keep it under 15 minutes. If you haven't tried one of these, go pick one up. It looks goofy. You're like, oh, it's too big. I'll never carry that. I went and handled it, and I'm like, I need this in my life. So that's my new EDC from going forward.